Do you know that dental sealants can increase your child's risk for cavities? And that by taking care of the good bacteria in our mouths, we can offer teeth more, better, and longer protection from cavities. Also, do you know that dental sealants and tooth-colored white fillings are made of plastic? That once this plastic is put into a child's tooth, it is there forever? The science about plastic exposure is deeply concerning, possibly even scandalous. And many worrisome questions have been ignored for over 60 years. If your child already has sealants, you may find this video upsetting, and I'm sorry. But there's good news about how easily we can detoxify plastic. And with the knowledge I'm going to share with you in this video, I hope we can deter the next generation of parents from choosing sealants unnecessarily. Hi, I'm Dr. Ellie, and my mission is to help you enjoy a healthy mouth and avoid unnecessary dental treatments. I want to explain in this video how we can give children a healthy mouth without dental treatments and give them an even better chance of no cavities for life. This topic of skipping or avoiding sealants is big, and you'll have a lot of opposition when you talk to your dentist about this. This is why the video has been segmented into 3 separate episodes. I'd say this is one of the most ambitious projects I've ever produced for this channel. I've spent hours preparing because to skip sealants requires a new way of thinking about your teeth. If parents understand this new vision of oral health, I believe we can change the health future for our kids, not just for their mouths, but potentially for their overall health for life. I say this because I have always believed this, but a massive 2026 study just done by the University of Copenhagen with over 568,000 participants showed conclusively that children with decay and gum disease have a 45% higher risk for heart disease as an adult. The research suggested cavities and gum disease in childhood trigger inflammation in the body and increases the risk of adult strokes, heart attacks, and clogged arteries. While affecting both genders, this study showed in male children that bad teeth increased their risk of heart disease by 32%, while females showed a 45% higher risk. If your dentist shows no interest in watching this video, maybe your cardiologist will. Most patients agree to dental sealants and small fillings without blinking. But wrong choices can create serious problems, and you need options, including the option to refuse a sealant and reverse a small cavity so you can avoid a filling. In this video, I will shine light on the hidden dangers of dental sealants and look at the natural mouth biology that can help us enjoy beautiful, naturally strong teeth without the need for dental treatments. Let's begin with what dentists say about small fillings and dental sealants. Imagine yourself in the dental chair as your dentist finds a small cavity. He or she immediately suggests this could be filled quickly today. Please don't say yes. Get out of the chair and consider your options. Similarly, a pediatric or school dentist recommends your child needs a few sealants. Dental sealants sound like such a great idea. Why not? The dentist says sealants prevent cavities, and who wouldn't want to prevent cavities? But please, please, parents and caretakers, please consider sealants may not be the answer and may cause more issues and even deeper and larger cavities. In this first episode of the series, I'll explain 4 important things about dental sealants and white fillings that you may never have heard before. These are the 4 main reasons I suggest you avoid sealants, and always try to reverse small cavities and avoid white plastic fillings. So number 1, let's look at the reason to avoid sealants and white fillings. Because they're plastic. It's a fact. Most people never ask or assume that composite is a magical dental material. Who would consider a dental sealant or white filling is made of plastic? Yes. And what about the estrogen problem? The chemicals released by plastic. We know BPA is a derivative or chemical given off by all plastics. Even dental materials marketed as BPA free. They all emit chemicals that mimic estrogen in the body. And that's a special concern for young people, anyone pregnant, and anyone at risk for estrogen-sensitive cancers. So why is plastic used in dentistry? The story begins with a research scientist, Michael G. Bonacore, a professor at the University of Rochester, New York, who, in the 1950s, developed the dental treatment we call a pit and fissure sealant. The university had endured a long and fruitless search for a vaccine against cavities, so they were very excited to finally hail sealants as the new preventive treatment to prevent cavities. The idea was that cavities could simply be stopped by blocking the grooves of teeth with a plastic coating. When I attended the University of Rochester's pediatric specialty program in the 1980s, naturally, I was given an enthusiastic introduction to dental sealants. The problem with teeth, I was told, is that children's new molar and premolar teeth have deep grooves in their biting surfaces. These grooves are where decay begins, often right as the new teeth are coming into the mouth. This is why, as pediatric dentists, we were trained to be alert, quickly seal every new tooth, to block every pit and fissure with a thin layer of plastic. We believed all responsible pediatric dentists would be sealing teeth as quickly as possible and as soon as any new tooth entered the child's mouth. By the way, this is probably what your child's dentist is telling you, even today. This new sealant technique was only possible because of a process that Dr. Bonacore developed for getting plastic to stick to a tooth, called an acid etch. He discovered you could coat tooth enamel with a strong acid and dissolve minerals from the tooth's surface. When minerals are taken out of enamel, this opens up holes in the surface. He then filled these holes with a liquid plastic glue that hardens to create plastic tendrils in the enamel that basically grip the tooth surface like a mass of plastic fingers. As a matter of chemistry and physics, this was a brilliant achievement. It always seems that dentistry and Western medicine dance a two-step. One step forward, two steps back. The step forward was the discovery of the chemistry of the acid etch technique to stick plastic to a tooth surface. The physics was that now dentists could protect or fill teeth with tooth-colored plastic. It seems it was an exciting time as dentistry imagined this treatment would stop cavities. Quickly, sealants were adopted by dentists across America. But then we have those two steps back. There were unexpected and unrecognized problems with sealants. For start, no one asked about the toxicity of plastic in people's mouths. One reason may have been that in 1970, we did not know the serious dangers of plastic in the mouth. But even today, there are very few studies, and only with small groups to look at the consequences of the release of BPA in the mouth of small children and with multiple sealants placed at one time. Here's what we know. We know dental composites used for fillings and the plastic of sealants leach BPA into the mouth. And BPA is a hormone disruptor which can cause health problems, even tiny quantities. In 2019, the University of Washington analyzed all the research they could find on BPA exposure from dental treatments. They found only 7 useful studies, and every one showed a substantial rise in BPA during the first 24 hours after white filling or plastic sealant. Sometimes the level of BPA doubled, sometimes it quadrupled, and the effects continued even after that first day. The biggest hazard appears to be long-term exposure to BPA. Only 3 of these studies looked at long-term levels, testing them for a month or 2. These studies were too small to get good data, but they found suggestive hints that BPA levels could remain high for as long as 6 months, and not one study looked any longer than that. So in fact, we have no idea how long BPA levels might be high. The fact that this is an open question, to me, seems outrageous. Why hasn't anyone done a study on the risks of plastic in people's mouths, particularly in young children and adults of childbearing age, or those at risk for estrogen-sensitive cancers? To make matters worse, a brand new 2026 study done in Naples, Italy, found BPA release is greater in acidic mouths, the very mouths that are most likely to get sealants and fillings, and the environment most women have in their mouths during hormonal shifts and pregnancy. Even a material called bis-DMA, which is marketed as BPA-free, showed that it released a chemical that then breaks down into BPA, and that this material may actually release more BPA in this way. We also do not know the consequences of microplastics that may be consumed if plastic sealants or fillings grind down or splinter and are swallowed. Also, what is the impact of plastic while it's setting in the mouth of children, teens, and others, releasing unknown quantities of estrogen-mimicking BPA? These are uncomfortable questions, but they must be asked because we need to know the health safety of sealants and tooth-colored fillings that have been blithely used now for over 70 years, unquestioned. Now, I want to give a warning here. This is where I need to tell you a vitally important fact. Once a sealant has blocked the grooves of a tooth, it is too late. Sealants cannot ever be removed. If you have already sealed your teeth or your child's teeth, sealants cannot be undone. Never. Those plastic tags cannot be taken out. This is why it is so important to share this message with your family, with friends, and particularly with any young parents, before they agree to a plastic sealant or plastic filling that can never be removed. This concern may never come from the dental world, as you know. And if it's already too late, please don't feel regret if you have sealed your kids' teeth or agreed to a filling. Just know you can move forward, and I will give you strategies to avoid the long-term issues and problems that sealants can cause in the upcoming series of new episodes. Also, we will talk about foods that can easily detoxify plastic in your mouth and in your gut. We will explore all of this in the following episodes. But for now, the good news is that there are many things we can do to prevent and reverse cavities and avoid plastic sealants and fillings. So number 2 reason to avoid sealants, how sealants prevent mineralization, dislodge healthy bacteria, and create an extra need for x-rays. Most likely your school or pediatric dentist truly believes sealants protect your child's teeth from decay. They don't know the shocking truth. Sealants do not stop decay. Plus, your dentist may not be aware that sealants pose a number of other concerns besides the estrogen one. Surely other people know this. So why doesn't your dentist tell you these things? How is this possible? Well, from what I know, most dentists don't spend time pondering sealants or things omitted from American dental school education. If a dentist didn't learn about the dangers of plastics in dental school, they likely don't consider it a problem. After all, it was 50 years before any study looked into the release of BPA from sealants. The ADA says there's no problem, and these products have been routinely used for nearly 70 years. But let's move forward and return to the dental schools and ADA later. Things are complicated in America by the fact that pediatric and school dentists and hygienists are the ones who generally put sealants in children's teeth. Unfortunately, because they only work with children, they don't get to see the consequences that occur 10, 20, 40 years later. Pediatric dentistry sends children to general dentists when they're teens, and these consequences of sealant damage usually don't become visible until a child matures to 25, 30 years old. This is why pediatric dentists happily think sealants are a great idea and don't suffer sleepless nights about the long-term problems. But you talk with any caring and experienced family dentist, and you'll usually find they are fully aware how sealants create problems for adult teeth. They'll probably agree that sealants can trigger bigger and deeper cavities and lead to more extensive fillings, sometimes even killing teeth. Yes, sealants can wind up ultimately causing the death spiral of the teeth they were designed to protect. But before we get into that, you should understand how sealants mask problems and also weaken teeth. The biggest masking problem is that sealants contribute to a lifelong greater need for X-rays. Let's call this the X-ray problem. And it happens because sealants block the grooves of molar teeth. You see, molar grooves offer a location where a dentist can easily make a judgment call and evaluate the health of that mouth. If the grooves are visibly healthy, the dentist will usually feel confident that there are no other teeth at risk for cavities. Your dentist can visually look at these grooves or even test them with testing equipment and be almost certain this mouth is not at risk for cavities. Visual inspection of decay in these areas can also send a warning signal. This mouth is at risk for decay. Now, the next place to decay in a mouth is usually between teeth, where two adult teeth touch one another. This is well known as a normal pattern of decay that your dentist has been trained to understand. By visually checking the grooves on the top of teeth, a dentist can have a good idea what is happening between the teeth, even though they can't see between the teeth. Now, if the grooves are clearly healthy, then they probably don't need to do an X-ray as often to check between teeth. But if the molar grooves have been sealed and those areas are blocked, then there's no signal. There's no way to know if disease and decay is starting between the teeth. This means in a mouth with sealants, even a healthy mouth, the only way to know if cavities are happening between teeth is to take X-rays. More often, more of them for life, even if your mouth is really healthy. So yes, you may have just signed up for a life of more, potentially unnecessary X-rays. That's the X-ray problem. Now, let's talk about how sealants can weaken teeth. One way is if your dentist needs to clean the grooves before sealing them with a process called enameloplasty. If there is a possibility of decay in the tooth grooves, your dentist may use a special drill to clean them before putting in the plastic sealant. This process has this polite name called enameloplasty, but it really means the dentist is removing enamel with a drill, and then he or she will fill the widened groove with plastic. Somehow dentistry believes this will protect a child from a filling. But enamel is the best protection a tooth can have, and the enameloplasty has just drilled and filled the tooth preemptively. It prevents a filling by doing a filling. The really tragic part is that such a small amount of decay could easily have been reversed with simple home care to avoid any filling, any plastic sealant. Why drill and fill a small cavity that could have been reversed? By reversing the cavity, the tooth would keep the hard protective enamel and be much more resistant to future decay. Sealants also stop a new tooth from mineralizing, and this can keep the deeper enamel weak and vulnerable to decay. The process of sealing the grooves of a molar tooth may stop a child's tooth from a process of natural maturation. Has any dentist ever told you about the vital year of mineralization that occurs during the first year a new adult tooth enters your child's mouth? Putting a sealant on a newly erupting tooth will stop this mineralizing process of natural maturation. When this happens, the bottom of the groove may remain weak and more vulnerable if they ever encounter future decay. Normally, a new tooth will mature and absorb minerals into the outer shell of enamel by this process of maturation. And it is an essential process for the long-term health and strength of a tooth. When a new adult tooth enters a child's mouth, it's weak. It can only become mineralized if it's given sufficient time to absorb these minerals onto its surface, and they come from the mouth. It takes about a year for this process to occur naturally, and it explains why a child's tooth can first look yellower or darker, and why it's soft, and why it can easily decay. If you seal the grooves as these molars arrive in the mouth, which is exactly what most dentists recommend, we prevent teeth from the benefits of this natural maturing process. They cannot mature. A sealed tooth cannot mineralize. Those grooves are filled with plastic that has flowed inside the immature, soft, weak enamel permanently. The wonderful thing is that if we choose not to have a sealant, it is possible to speed up this process of maturation. And it works in just the same way as it works to heal a small amount of decay or reverse a small cavity. It just takes a few simple steps. Using xylitol, a good toothpaste, a dilute fluoride mouth rinse. Done appropriately, these small things can reduce 12 months of maturation to 3 months. It is easy to teach a child to rinse twice a day with a dilute 0.05 sodium fluoride mouth rinse and use xylitol at the end of meals. So immature teeth are indeed at greater risk for decay. But remember, the right care as new teeth arrives in the mouth, just for a few months, can help children from age 6 to 16 to enjoy stronger teeth for life. Speeding up mineralization, giving teeth the time and tools to strengthen themselves. This is what I teach. Everything I do, this channel, my gum and tooth rebuild program, my books, everything is about simple, proven steps you can take to have strong, shiny teeth and healthy gums for life. I distilled 50 years of experience for you into my second edition of Kiss Your Dentist Goodbye. Remineralization is explained in depth in the first part of the book. Why, if you're using my system, a cavity can heal, along with all the key science you need to understand about your mouth. The second part of the book walks you through my complete mouth care system, step by step. Kiss Your Dentist Goodbye is now available as an audiobook on Audible, and I worked hard to record it myself. You can find it on Audible, on Amazon, in bookstores, or at your library. I'll put a link in the description below, and thank you. Now, let's get back to the topic of sealants. The reason for sealants is to block harmful bacteria that could cause cavities in vulnerable tooth grooves. But remember what I said about that two-step dance? 1 step forward, 2 steps back. This is another example. Somehow, in the process of sealing teeth, we forgot or ignored the fact that these grooves are also an important habitat for good, protective, healthy oral bacteria. Sealing the grooves of molar teeth will prevent good bacteria from colonizing new adult teeth. Has dentistry considered the long-term consequences of this? When bacteria multiply in the grooves of teeth, they are said to be colonizing the tooth. This colonization of molar teeth by healthy mouth bacteria appears to be a vital step in the development of a stable, healthy, adult microbiome. I'll tell you more about this in the next episode. But be aware that this idea is understood in many countries around the world. Countries like Denmark, where adults experience almost perfect teeth for life. This is why in Finland, xylitol is given to preschool children to develop healthy bacteria before adult teeth erupt. This is why effective alternative dental health education, not sealants, is offered to pregnant mothers and young families in many countries. But what do you do if your dentist tells you that your child needs a sealant because they are about to get a cavity? And to make this decision, let me talk about perhaps the most important reason to avoid sealants. They can actually lead to bigger cavities, more fillings, and a spiral of disease that can cause tooth death many years later. You see, plastic sealants are a magnet, and sealants also mask the long-term problems of this disease spiral. So that brings us to topic 3. Plastic is a plaque magnet, and sealants mask long-term problems, and that's why they lead to a disease spiral. If you are told that a tooth is about to get a cavity or has a small cavity, then this means it's being attacked by harmful cavity-forming bacteria that are floating in the mouth. As an experienced dentist, I know that drilling and putting plastic in a tooth is not the best idea, and it may be a very bad idea. Once we commit to a sealant or a filling, we can start what is known as the tooth death spiral, a spiral of dental disease that begins the moment you get a filling or a dental sealant. So why does a small filling or sealant cause a bigger, deeper filling and possibly more destruction as that child reaches the age of 30 or 40? Why does this happen? Why does that small filling grow decay and need deeper dental repairs over and possibly unexpected dental expenses in later life? The reason is because plastic is a plaque magnet. It literally attracts harmful bacteria floating in your mouth to stick to the filling or sealant. Didn't the filling take care of these bacteria? No, not the ones floating in your mouth. Only you can get those to go away. I'll go into more depth on this in the next episode. If your mouth is unhealthy, if you're breeding quantities of bad bacteria, no filling will stop them from attacking your teeth everywhere in your mouth, attacking until they form another cavity. If the bacteria in your mouth are unhealthy, then eventually you will have more tooth decay. Dentists may call this secondary or recurrent decay and blame your childhood or your genes. But the fact is your mouth is unhealthy. And no matter how many sealants or fillings you have, until you control cavity-forming bacteria and get rid of them, more cavities will eventually form, either around, under, or between existing fillings, or in new areas around your mouth. So if your dentist suggests a sealant, ask if your child needs a sealant. What level of urgency to get this sealant or filling done? Today? Is there an option to wait a little while? My recommendation is to first try to reverse tooth decay at home. It may only take changing a couple of harmful habits, to use a more consistent bedtime tooth care routine, maybe snack and sip a little less often, or add delicious xylitol into your life. Simple things. But wow, the results may be quick and amazing. And yes, you can reverse cavities and lower your child's risk for tooth decay. It's easier than you think. When families use my strategies, small cavities often reverse in 12 weeks. Ask your dentist if you can delay that sealant for a month or two. And finally, let's talk about reason 4. I told you we'd get back to the ADA and dental schools and why dentistry is so unaware of the dangers posed by plastic sealants and the fact that sealants do not stop decay. The answer may lie in exploring how the plastics industry influences modern American dentistry. Before we begin, I'll admit that it took years for me to think this way about sealants, to turn from accepting them as a brilliant way to prevent cavities to seeing them as a major health concern. Today, I hope leaders in health will look into these potential problems with sealants and take action as soon as possible. So let's begin. The plastic in sealants are from a family of polymer plastics developed in the 1930s by companies like Dow Chemical and DuPont. By the 1960s, the plastic industry had moved into dentistry. At the very moment when researchers, especially across Europe, were gaining a deeper understanding of mouth biology. The plastic industry developed a quick foothold, and it has influenced American dentistry ever since, even directing modern dentistry in America today. It was the acid etch technique that ushered sealants and adhesive plastic fillings to dentistry in the 1960s. And the plastic companies quickly learned how to control the direction of dentistry. When other countries began to study ways to guide the biology of the mouth using xylitol and nutritional counseling, the plastic companies kept American dentistry growing into a massive materials-driven profession. There was immediate public interest in the idea of pretty teeth with aesthetic veneers, sealants, tooth-colored fillings. These were the main drivers of cosmetic dentistry, and those big chemical companies spawned specialized dental materials companies to sell and promote all these products, to advance adhesive dentistry in every aspect of dental education and dental schools across America. As a graduate student in the 1980s, I remember being trained to embrace sealants and use specific brand materials. Dental schools get discounted products and equipment, donations, because companies know that early familiarity leads to long-term brand loyalty. Students are shown how easily these materials seal grooves, repair tooth damage, and fill teeth. They do the job, have great aesthetics, and offer high profitability. Even today, dental schools prioritize repairing damage rather than asking why this damage occurs. So are the plastic material companies involved in dental school education today? Yes, very much so. Dental material companies sponsor and host almost every continuing education course, which may explain why there is no mention of at-home alternatives and minimal teaching about how decay can be controlled by nurturing the biology of the mouth in the preschool years. Dental students are taught about so-called preventive treatments, these treatments known as sealants, and every kind of restorative material. Once trained, a dentist may never consider the possibility of how easy it is to reverse a cavity with a few at-home strategies. Early in a dentist's career, he or she will have such excitement for the new materials, innovations, and emerging technology. This explains why dentistry promotes fill and restore, replace, replace, replace. It explains why dentistry ignores the glaring questions. Why is the mouth's biochemistry out of balance? How can we rebalance it and prevent unnecessary treatment? Usually, it takes years of experience, often treating special needs or older adults, for a dentist to become alert to the fact that neither fillings nor sealants, no matter how beautiful they look, stop the phenomenon I call the spiral of disease in a mouth. Treatments simply kick this can down the road. Again, if you have already had sealants done, or if you wear a plastic retainer, or have plastic composite fillings, or if you truly need to have a filling done, don't panic. In my upcoming episodes, I will be talking about alternative approaches to avoid plastic sealants and fillings. In many cases, you can avoid a filling or sealant entirely. And when you truly need one, maybe ask for glass ionomer instead of plastic. I'll tell you all about that, and I'll also explain how high-fiber foods and even xylitol may provide an effective way to detoxify the effects of plastic in the body without medical interventions, without fear, and in fact with nothing more than munching on a few delicious fruits and veggies every day. Consider how a motivated family can decide to enjoy a new dental future instead of a sealant that may put your child on the road to future fillings and dental treatments. In just a few weeks, you can be developing healthy, pristine, natural teeth and avoid having plastic in your mouth. Your dentist will likely be shocked by the improvements you can achieve in such a short time. Not only will small cavities have reversed, but your child's entire mouth will likely be healthier and cleaner. All it takes is a few consistent weeks using correct strategies and care. That's all. Then you can ask the same question again. Does your child need a filling or a sealant? How amazing to discover that you can have the power to change oral health. Plus, you will have discovered how to control oral health into the future. Year after year, what's it worth for you to save your child or yourself from a plastic sealant or a filling in a tooth? In the next episode, I'll go through all the details of how to reverse a cavity and prevent tooth decay. But if you need to start now, these strategies are clearly explained on my website, drellie.com, in my books, and in other YouTube videos. My mission for 50 years has always been to help people learn how to reverse cavities and cure gum disease at home. I recently released my Gum and Tooth Rebuild program, and it's the most useful educational tool I have ever made. Everything you need is neatly organized, there in videos, checklists, and a 24/7 AI support agent. And I do a monthly live question and answer session. If you want to learn more about dental health with me, please scan the QR code or click the link to learn.drellie.com in the description below. Until next time, let's keep you and your children's teeth healthy and happy. Thank you.